All right. Hello and welcome to the Not My Job Pod, where I am your host, Emily Gant, and I talk to people who don't work in tech and have different jobs or passions than my own. So today we are joined by Tom. You might know him as the Yorkshireman abroad if you've ever been anywhere on Instagram in Berlin in the recent months. I feel like your face has been popping up quite a bit. So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to having a little chat about the non-tech workers because I think this city is full of tech people. Well, a nice mixture of the both, to be honest.
Yeah, I think what's really enjoyable as well is like seeing a lot of my friends kind of combine their interests in tech with art, and kind of seeing that merge together. But yeah, I definitely like getting out of the tech bubble. So I'm
I,
excited.
I spoke about this recently, actually, with a friend about, Berlin, I think, still is a city in Europe where you can balance your hobby with your job and sort of free up some free time to do other things. So, yeah, you might work in tech or a corporate job or whatever it is, but you can, if you earn too much money, you get taxed too much in Germany. It's kind of not really a good incentive to work too hard. So that also can, Berlin, I still do, I know it is more expensive, but if you are lucky enough to have maybe an old contract on an apartment, or if this sort of stuff, then you can not have to work as hard to pay the rent. And then you can, focus on other things as well, which is like, your passion or your hobby or sort of stuff like that. Whereas, you live in London, you live in Paris, you live in even Amsterdam or whatever, you know, you're working to survive and you're working many hours. London's a very sort of dog eat dog money place. And yeah, it's kind of, I feel like a nice balance still in Berlin, a little bit still.
Yeah, I think that's what's Berlin's really encouraged me to stop using what I do for work as like my own identity and completely separating those things. And I
Mm.
see a lot of people doing that. And I think that's why, I don't know, I find your page really interesting because I feel like there's just like this cacophony of interests that you're always exploring. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the big ones right now are fitness, partying within sobriety, and your hair cutting as well, and DJing. That's 4, right?
So yeah. So basically, like I just talk. I'm a human being, just like you and everyone else, and we all have many interests and things like this. And I like to think, sometimes we sort of when you see on social media someone's like main passion in your life, oh shit, all that person does is DJ. They're just a DJ. They just DJ all over their platform, and that's all they do. But we're multi-dimensional people and have many interests, and things can spark creativity at some point, and then not at other points. So I just want to show that we're all going through the same thing, and something might interest me for a little while and then it doesn't, but always constantly through my life has always been health and fitness, getting fit, especially within the last year. But, I've done I used to be in the military years ago. So I've joined at 16. So I did that for 60. So I've always had fitness in my life, but I've been out of shape and in shape through my life. So fitness has always been there. I always conscious of that. Music always through my life shaped me with the type of person that I'm with today and the friends I have. My friends are the people that I go to a festival with or the people that I hang out with at the weekend. We go to listen to music. So music has always been important. And I've lived out of the UK for over 11 years. And I also used to be in the military. So I've lived in other countries, experienced other cultures, done lots of things like that. So I just try and they're the three core things that I sort of have in my social media. But other things that come to me, I just sort of talk about a little bit. I talked about storytelling for a little bit. I talked about the sobriety thing because it was sober October. I'm not a sober person. But I balance, I'll go through, I won't drink for or do substances for like 5, 6 weeks,
Mm.
and then I will go out and have fun and then I'll regret it for a week and then I'll get back on my routine and then it's a cycle. Do you know what I mean?
I think the people in Berlin that kind of find the most success here do have some sort of balance between not necessarily getting things done in a productivity sense of I must work, 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 but, they have, like, some sort of balance of, like, can go out what's the word? Pursue, like, some sort
Moderation. Oh,
yeah, yeah. No, no, pursue, like, personal hobbies, but then also have moderation where the fun comes in, so it's a
yeah.
good balance there.
I know people, I've got friends now. Unfortunately, some of these friends I've had to distance myself from who have not found that balance and, gone too far into the drug and alcohol and party scene and constantly tell you when they're high, they're going to get out of that. And like, yeah, I'm going to start doing this and I'm going to start doing that. And it's like, you're in a club high telling me this. It's like, so you have to sort of, I'm 39. A lot of these people are younger than me, or some of them are even similar age to me and stuff like that, which is also a little bit worrying and stuff. And I have to think, I always try to help those people and I'd be like, oh no, come with me to the gym. I'll help you with a program or let's do this healthy on a weekend. But I realize now I'm very busy, my time is precious and I can't fix people who don't really want to be fixed or helped. So you have to want to help yourself. So there is definitely people that I've had to cut off in this city and I
Mhm.
see them leave or I've seen people die as well here. I've like seen people like go too far and stuff. So it's like it is I mean that happens in every place, but it's very easy to go too far in Berlin.
Yeah, I think what's quite interesting for me is my friend groups are so varied and a lot of them don't mix. And so like
Mm.
some groups that are just so far removed from Berlin partying and like I wouldn't even say that they're intentionally sober, they just don't really enjoy drinking or substances or anything like that. And then I do have friends who, are more into that and I would say are more balanced. It's interesting though. I think when people think of Berlin, they do initially think of like, oh, okay, clubbing and going out and partying and that sort of thing. And I do think that the city has so much more than that to offer.
It does have that to offer, but I genuinely think, I don't know if it's my own, just totally my own perspective, but I think definitely sometimes people do move to Berlin for the music and the nightlife. I think like they get offered a job, but they're like, sweet, I was looking for a job in Berlin to be able to let my hair down on a weekend and party for 24 hours if I want to. You all come to Berlin at some point and you go, wow, that is a totally unique night out. I've never experienced that anywhere. And then for me, definitely, I thought, oh, it would be cool to live here at some point. It took me 10 years to get here from that thinking that thing when I first came in 2000. Uh, no, 2011, I first came to Berlin. In 2019, I moved here. So it took me some time, but I think a lot of people do kind of, it's in the back of their head that they do kind of move here for the music or the culture in that sort of way. So I think it's important to show it in a positive way as well
Mhm.
as a negative.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. It was also the case for me where I was first here. Actually, I was at Renata last weekend. Uh, and I was just talking to some strangers, like, around that fire pit, and I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
well, like, I'm sad that this club's shutting down because this was the first club I went to in Berlin in 2009 and, like, just really gave me, like you said, that impression of the city." And, like, anyway, this girl's just like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "Oh god." Like, I don't know, but I think what I like here too is that, I feel that I don't know, the club experiences that I have now that are a lot better, whether it's clubs or private events, I would say it gets better with age. How do you think
Mm.
if music and partying has changed as you get older?
I think we are the real last generation of getting totally fucked up because I think we've learned it, we've done it. We grew up in a time without social media. I did grow out with our time without proper social media. A little bit of Facebook here and there, and I think now younger people are they're very more conscious about what's going to end up online. So, if you get I think Berlin is okay because it's a bit of a utopia because we don't allow the phones in clubs and stuff like that. But I think a lot of places they do, and people are a little bit more conscious about getting too fucked up because they don't want to be caught on camera and it exists on the internet of them making a total fool of themselves. So a lot of 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds that I speak to whose hair I cut and whose parents I cut their hair and so they're like they don't really drink. They don't really go out as much. I mean, obviously, I know there is a group of young people that do, but I think in majority, younger people are not going out as much and drinking. And we can see that. That's why clubs are closing. That's why, the bar tab's not being hit, all this sort of stuff. So non-alcoholic drinks are on the rise around the world. I think it has this little bit to do with the social media thing. So I think we are the last generation and been like, ah, like this. So I think from that perspective, younger people are different to us and probably going to be experiencing life different to us when they get older. And for me, the dynamic has changed just on a personal level because all my friends that I grew up with back home don't go out. They don't go to clubs. They don't do anything that I do anymore. But, they're in a different part of their life. They've got kids and all that sort of stuff. But I see people in Berlin who are like me, who have kids, and they find that, they might not go out for the first couple of years, but then they miss it and they're still here and they try and find that balance. So I think it's different for everybody in going out and stuff. But I think if you're in Berlin, definitely, you still make it a bit of your life. But you just have to do it sober sometimes.
Yeah, and I think we all make time for what's important to us, and, yeah, I think the first time, though, I went to a club just completely sober was, a very bizarre experience, though, and so, like because I think yeah, because our generation, it was very much like, at least you're drinking, you're out with your friends, and I feel like my, like, hot take is that alcohol, to a point, will improve people's mental health. That's not true at all, like, scientifically, but I just feel like because that, like, social lubricant is there, you might, like, talk to somebody new or meet new people that, maybe this new generation doesn't get to,
Mm.
and I don't know, it made me question why like, the first time I went to a club completely sober, I was like, "Okay, why is it right now specifically harder for me to just go talk to new people? Why do I feel this way?" And then trying to overcome.
I agree. Yeah, it's funny. It's really like, I mean, I am quite a confident person. I can talk to you. Like, if I meet you out of a club, I can, spark up a conversation and we can talk and all this sort of stuff. But there's something about when you go into a nightclub and you're sober and other people aren't that I just feel kind of awkward. And it's difficult. And I would love to get to that point where some people who go out just sober all the time
Yeah.
and they enjoy it and like they're that, it's, of high off fresh air, these sort of people. I'm like, how the fuck do you do that? I'm like, that's for me. I feel like I've done it. I've done it and I've done it with my partner. If we're going out sober, we'll do it together and we'll be like, let's do it sober and we'll, it's easier when you're with someone. It's not the same. You go home when you're tired. But we've also started doing like semi sober, which is like just a little microdose of like something, or maybe just like a small something. And then you got a little feel, and then you're like, okay, that's kind of loosen a little bit or something like that. And maybe that kind of takes the edge off stuff a little bit. Just like natural things as well, like this. But yeah, it's a weird experience to go out fully sober, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know though, there was once that I was completely sober and like just it was a friend's light show actually. Like obviously the people were there for the DJs, but I was there because it was my friend's light show. Um
Yeah.
the lights were like so good that like I don't know, I was kind of like waving around in the music and I was like, I feel a little bit loopy. And I was like, wow, this is like sometimes I think people uh, I don't like because 'cause I'll be if I'm at an event sober and then other people are like, "Oh, I need to go do more, do more, do more." I'm like, "I don't know." It's like some of it, not all of it, don't get me wrong, is in the mindset, I think, as well.
You can get in the loop of, the toilet, let's go to the toilet together. It's like it's a whole sort of the toilet thing is a social interaction here as well. I think unless you've experienced it, you don't really get how going to the toilet is social. But because there's such a toilet queue
Yeah.
and like you can go into a cubicle and together, that it's kind of where you have a chat, and like you're away from the loud music and stuff like that. So I think it's part of the experience of it. So you just end up doing that loop of like dance, ba, da, toilet, and then you kind of go around in this sort of circle.
No, that's fair. I think I was talking to a friend about that specifically recently, and she was like,
Mm,
"I think it's not that much of a novelty for women because women when we're always fucking waiting for the toilet in anywhere, like, and not just clubs, just
yeah,
anywhere." So, like, I feel like when women are
true.
waiting in line for the toilet, like, we do have this, like, already existing kind of communal, like, do you need a breath mint? Like, do you need," whatever it is. Yeah, so I don't know, that's just funny to me because
It's quite funny how you'll be in a queue and you'll be like, you'll just say to a stranger, "Can I come in with you guys?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 come in with us." You know what I mean? And you just go into the toilet together and you're like, "Yeah." And then you get chatting to random people in the toilet and stuff like that. I've actually, yeah, that's quite a good little like tip for like meeting people and stuff like that, especially if you're out clubbing on your own. Like if you're on your own and stuff, like, 'cause I know people do go clubbing on their own, you can go to the, "Oh, can I come in with you to the toilet?" "Yeah, yeah, yeah, sure," like, I mean, obviously within reason, you don't wanna look like a a creep, do you know what I mean? But,
yeah. I feel like, yeah, it's a fine line, but
mm,
I mean, that's the fine line with social situation, I feel, so.
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious how you decided then, because honestly, one of my worst nightmares actually is that I don't know why it's like a worst nightmare, but like now that my social media is like actually starting to grow, I'm like, oh God, like what would it feel like to be recognized, especially like in the Berlin nightlife? I don't know, that like scares me that like, I don't know, I'm just like out having a good time. And then has that ever happened to you that you're out having a good time and then somebody's like, are you that guy from Instagram or
Yeah, it happens quite a lot actually. Happens at at least once every time I go out. It always happens in Berghain. Like,
okay.
I don't know, I feel like my target audience are people that go to Berghain, but I suppose it's just such a wide variety of people. But everybody's super nice, you know? Everybody's really friendly and nice and says they like the content, you know? And, I've had some really nice compliments. Like, one person said to me, "Everybody on social media makes me cringe apart from you, so I suppose that's a compliment." And I was like, "That is the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me." So, no, it's like people are super nice and, it's like it's fine, it doesn't bother me for people to come up to me. I like it because like I've said before, like I'm trying to show that we're all the same person going through the same experiences and feeling the same thing, happy, sad, want to get fit, want to get healthy, want to follow their passion, want to make money, want to, all these sort of stuff. We all go through them. And I'm just trying to be honest with my observation of life and hopefully it relates to others. So if someone comes up to me and relates to it, I see that as like, okay, it's working. The content's working.
Yeah. And I guess for me, I feel, yeah, cringe is the word because I don't know, everyone's like, if you want to keep it going, you need to post every day and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like one of those things like, I don't know, sometimes I'll post something, it'll get more traction than I expect. And then I'm like, I don't know, like I feel cringe for myself. Like, do you ever feel that about your own content or?
Yes, sometimes the content that you don't want to do as well is always sometimes the one that does the best. And it's like you can't really put your finger on why sometimes. And you're supposed to look at the content that did well and like dissect it and be like, how did I do that? And then repeat it continuously every day because content is about showing a new audience member to show the new audience person who is new, who is going to follow me now, what do I need to do to make more followers, more followers, more followers. And it's like a little bit unnatural to me sometimes, and I feel like I do want to try and do that a little bit, but I also just want to be like, oh hey, the guys who already follow me, like, this funny thing happened to me today, and they'll get it because I've spoke maybe about something else previously, rather than going into the full like grow, 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 like this. Because let's be honest, like if you're constantly growing and you're not nurturing the followers that you already have, the engagement that you have on your posts will go down naturally, surely. Because like people will be like, I've already seen him say this. I've
Mhm.
already seen him say this. He's getting repetitive. So I think it's about finding that balance of like sounding like someone's mate and being like talking about stuff going on and also like trying to get new followers as well, which I am trying to do as well.
Mhm.
I am consciously thinking about it, but like it does consume a lot of my spare time thinking about social media. but it's my new creative outlet. So I enjoy it, you know.
Yeah, I think that's the balance point of I think that's kind of the theme of this conversation is balance because yeah, on one hand I'm like I know social media is super addictive and awful and then on the other hand I'm like okay, wait a second, like this is kind of fun to like create this little video and like give it a little post and
Yeah.
yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's fun to make the video and you get the idea and then you're like you either like if you can you write it in your notes, but like usually the best idea is like I've had a coffee, I've been to the gym, I'm on my way back and ideas just come to me. I get home and I just record it straight away and then that's usually the most authentic, best way rather than me like, oh, looking through my notes and being like, oh, maybe I could talk about this idea, you know, and stuff like that. So there's like and then you try and talk about it and then you're like, oh, I didn't feel as natural and stuff like this. But it's practicing because I do, I would like to eventually, I've always wanted to be like a television presenter or something like working in media in that sort of like interviewing or doing something like that. I'd always kind of thought that would be an enjoyable thing to like think on the spot and be able to talk to somebody like this on screen. So you know, it's kind of maybe leading me towards that in some sort of direction in life, maybe.
Okay. So right now you've got like a general idea of where you'd like it to go, but not like necessarily a specific like goal in mind, or do you have a specific kind
Well,
of
I actually like, I mean, I've just signed a contract with a company and they're called Flash Quad. It's an events based app, a community events based app in Berlin. And these two girls that run it, they're super energetic. I loved their energy and they reached out to me and I thought they were reaching out to me to do a collaboration post and they were going to say like, oh, could you talk about the app? So I was like ready to sort of say yes. And I think I'm like kind of slow. I'm sort of at a level where I'm like, you know, like to do an Instagram post for you, you know, you got to chuck us a couple €100 or €100. You know, I'm trying to like ask for a little bit of something because it does take me time.
Mhm.
So I had this all in mind to be like, okay, yeah, I mean, I'm starting to ask people for a bit of money to do this. And they were like, no, we've been following you for like a year now. And we like how you present yourself online. And they want me to be the face of their new app. And they want me to do interviews and stuff with people who are doing community events, but do it in a sort of like in a different way. Like, I mean, not like, have you seen Subway Talks? Subway
Yeah.
Talks.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
obviously, it was like not the same, but in
Mhm.
some sort of like format, similar that's different, and a question that's different. So I've been working on that project, and we're going to start filming it next week, and I'm going to be doing interviews each week with different people. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
I don't want to go into the format yet because I want it to be a bit of a surprise for what people see because I think it's quite cool what I've been working on. So yeah, I want it to be a bit of a surprise.
No, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I love hearing that. It's like, yeah, because I mean, like you said, that they were like, we've been following you for a year. So really, it took them like a year to kind of, I mean, depending on where they were with their progress and their marketing for their own app.
Yeah, they were super inspiring. They moved to like they're like in their mid-20s. They worked at TikTok. They realized they hated TikTok, so they wanted to build a community-based app. So they moved to Silicon Valley for a year to try and learn and do and be around, you know, all the tech heads there and realized that nobody cares about community in Silicon Valley. So they moved back to Berlin and started the business here and stuff. And I do really like the project. I think it's really cool because I think there's a lot of time where you're like, okay, if I'm going out this weekend, I can look on Resident Advisor. But if I'm just want to do something random or do something else or see what's on, like where do you look? You know, where do you kind of find this sort of stuff? I mean, there's meetups, but they can be a bit lame. And this has got random stuff on there. Like maybe it's just like your local bars doing a drag karaoke night or something, or you know,
Yeah.
like there's like on the app, you know, like there's like a lesbian run club and stuff like you know, like stuff that you would never know exists until you sort of see it on there. So I liked the idea of it and this community and connecting with people and stuff like that. You know.
Definitely. I think that's what people crave right now above all else, and I think that's what a lot of people are actually looking for when they go, yeah, whether it's clubbing or just yeah, but sometimes it's like, yeah, you do need a break and you're like, "I need to go do something else," and so finding, like, what is that is quite difficult.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that they kind of sort of said to me, which because I was like, this is like a big project, and I was like, I don't know how much because I do still cut hair, and so it is I'm busy, as well as my other stuff going on. But like they've got like editors and they've got a film people who are going to film it, so all I have to sort of concentrate on is the interview thing, which is good, you know? So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely you're right about like, yeah, we can yeah, find stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely needed, I think, in this city. Because I honestly I don't I've been through lonely stages in Berlin, and I don't know if it's the city or it's me or if it's my age and stuff like that. I think it's a mixture of all the things. But I've always been a person that has many friends and a big community of people. And in Berlin, I do not have that. So I live in the UK, a big group of friends. There'd always be someone to do something with. So never ever felt like lonely ever, Moved to Australia, lived there for 6 years, never ever felt lonely. And then I moved to Berlin and I was like, oh, it's a little bit more difficult. And I think that being here in Berlin has made me part of the reason is starting this social media thing was probably maybe subconsciously in a way to be able to connect with people in the city more because I don't really have a big group of friends here, and I'm super cool with it. I got a couple of friends. I've got my missus. I've got my dog. Like I'm happy, and I think I'm happy because I focus my energy into my work now.
Mhm.
So, because like I don't have any other distractions, so like it's good to the city in that way. Sorry, I just went on a bit of a ramble then.
No, no, I love that, I love that, but yeah, I'm curious about that because I I never know how to say this without just sounding like an absolute dickhead, but, like, my Berlin experience was the opposite of what most people I hear like, 'cause what you're talking about, like, the loneliness. Like, a lot of people talk about the loneliness, that it's hard to find an apartment, like but to me, that means that I'm meant to be here because it was like the stars aligned, it was like I got an apartment, so many friends very quickly, like, from, whether it was previous jobs or just living situations or whatever. And I do think, though, the majority of people that you talk to have a story that's more similar to yours. Like they might be quite outgoing
Mm,
people, but it's just hard to make friends. And I do think as well that friendship is made by repeatedly seeing the same people over and over again over time. And as an adult, it's hard to get into situations where you're repeatedly seeing the same people. Uh,
yeah.
so I,
How
yeah.
how old was you when you moved here?
I was 33 when I moved here. I just moved here 2.5 years ago, so now I'm 35. But yeah, I mean, ironically, so when I moved, I interviewed for a VG, a shared living, for those who don't know. And then this guy, he messages me. He was like, "Actually, I'm not picking you. I'm picking this other guy, but he can't move in until May. So if you need a safe place to stay, you can stay here." And I was kind of like, "Man, like that's just." I was like kind of like annoyed about it. I was like, "Fuck you," you know. And then
Yeah.
he's now one of my closest friends, and, thanks to him,
Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of really close friends.
Is he German?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a German comment to say, isn't it?
Yeah. No, but, like, coming from me as an American, I was like, "Why would you even message me that?" But, like
Why would you even say that? I know. I know.
but now I think that story is hilarious.
I think Germans are it's a little bit harder to make friends with Germans a little bit, but when you are friends with them, they're very good friends. They're
Mhm.
very loyal and very welcoming, I think, a little bit as well,
Yeah.
Definitely, I think. But yeah, it's a little bit hard to break into the circles and stuff, but it's like definitely, they're very welcoming, like I said,
Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, funny, a little bit of a funny personality sometimes, especially as a Brit and an American. Do you know what I mean? We're just way too polite and like overly nice, which I
Mhm.
like, but it's just a bit of a clash of cultures sometimes.
Yeah. And I mean, I know people say Berlin is not Germany, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, it's just funny to me, like, some of the differences, or you think that there's not a difference, but then there is, like, this subtle.
Yeah, but like Berlin's not Germany, but I think Berlin is actually more. brutal than other cities. You know, you go to Cologne or other people are like friendly, like super friendly, like like super like I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I love it here. I just I don't really mix with too much of a diverse people as well, and I keep myself to myself a bit. So yeah.
Have you, explored learning German, or do you speak German already?
I where I go through phases of learning German. I honestly regret when I moved here. So I saved up quite a bit of money when I moved here from Australia. I used to work in construction before I was a barber, and it was quite well paid. And I regret not coming to Germany and doing an intensive German course for 3 months, whatever, and then finding the basics. I just moved here and I worked in a barber shop where everybody spoke English. I don't even think I worked with one German, and everybody was like, "You don't need German. You don't need German." And I was just like, "Okay, okay." And all my friends were like, not speaking German. And I was just like, "Well, I'll get Duolingo." So I got Duolingo. So I kept the streak going for like a year, but that was it. I mean, you're just learning super basics on Duolingo, how to order a coffee and, say things in the shop. And then I just lost my streak and I just stopped learning German. And I was like, I have this like internal guilt a little bit of like I go and I start listening to audiobooks when I walk to work and stuff like that, and I forget what I've learned. And then my partner is Spanish, so I like feel guilty that I should be learning Spanish, and then I feel guilty I should be learning German, and then I don't know what to do because in my spare time I'm fucking editing videos or making music or doing interviews. I don't know, like, and it's just like, where does this fit in? I feel like I need 3 months to go do intensive German every day for me to try and get my leg up. Otherwise, I'm just doing little bits here and there, which is doing nothing. And as you can see from my dialogue now, it's this internal battle that I have with German. So, yes, my German is shit, but I don't need it, but I want to learn it.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 worlds in Berlin though, and I do find that really interesting. Like there is like this one world that you have access to as an English speaker. And then the more German that I learn, I'm like, "Oh, there's like a whole other side to the city that I was missing out on." And I'm still not good enough to like get in on it now, but like I'm just starting to see it, and that motivates me to like because now I'm at like a B2 level, and like so it's not
It's
good
pretty
at,
good.
but it's like I don't
It's
know.
pretty good. I mean, it's good in the eyes of the German law, right? You can get the passport off a B2 and all that sort of stuff, can't you? But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I would love to just be at B2. I would love to if someone was like, you can be at B2, but you can't get any better, and I'd be like, I'll take it because you only need German when you need it. And then you're like, when you got to make a phone call, when something's going wrong, or you got to speak to the Finanzamt, or all this sort of stuff, and then you're like, but my partner's pretty good at German, so I'm always like, help.
There you go. You only need one person, in the unit really to be the official, speaker for the group. Like,
I mean, yeah, it's on the it's in the back of the mind. I'm sure I will definitely. I mean, I want to stay here long term, so I know I have to get better at it. So
yeah.
fine.
No, but it's hard to explain to people, like, how unnecessary it actually is, and I've lived in a bunch of different countries, and, like, I don't know, I always feel like you live somewhere, you should learn the language, but especially in Berlin, it's just sometimes so not motivating to learn because everyone speaks better English sometimes than you do. I don't know, it's just
Yeah, 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 exactly. And even sometimes Germans, when they're with you, they'll just speak German, and then you walk over, and then they just start speaking English to each other still because you're there, and you're like, I mean, it's super polite and it's really nice, and it's like they're just too good at English.
really, it's all their fault. It's nothing to do with us. We didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, 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 no, it's
Yeah, yeah.
fine, yeah.
No, totally. I'm curious though what it's like for you now, because I have a similar experience. I've been out of the US for like 15 years. Like when you go home, do you feel like you belong there, or is it like this weird feeling of like, what am I doing here? Or what's that like for you as far as like
Think it's changing definitely, definitely more recently. I do definitely feel a lot more disconnected from the UK. sometimes. I mean, it's still my home and you're still where I'm from, and I am a proud Yorkshireman, and I do love my family and stuff like this, and it's like, but for instance, like to move back to the UK, you've got to hit the ground running because it's expensive there. So I feel like I'm being outpriced of my own place where I'm from. And, I'm 39. It's not like I can go home and live with my mum for a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's like you'd have to go back and really sort of, you know. So that always makes me think, well, I don't feel like it's an option for me to move back to. Um, I always go back and I always meet people and life's easy, chatting to everyone and small talk and all that sort of stuff. So that is great, but I don't like the political direction of people's mindsets in the UK. I think it's quite narrow-minded, and I think from living in Berlin, you can become a bit obviously more open-minded to people are actually different from you, and it's okay, but I see people like complaining about things in the UK which are very trivial, but think that they're actually a problem. And that just makes me feel very much more disconnected from the place, especially if I look at sort of my hometown, my home city. You might speak to someone or, that's really narrow minded point of view. I don't want to go into details about what they might say. And you're like, it's not even worth telling them that they shouldn't say that, they're just a bit not they're just uneducated a little bit in that sort of way, but that's fine because we're all human beings experiencing life in our own perspective and stuff like that, and it's not worth me trying to change somebody's mind like that because you can't. It's very difficult to change people's beliefs. So yeah, it's better to just sort of concentrate and stay in your own lane, and my own lane is Berlin and my life here and stuff like that. So I think going back to the UK is definitely stepping back in time a little bit for me.
Yeah. It's always this feeling of like, yeah, almost like reverting back to who you were when you left, and I don't know, that's always like a weird feeling as well to me.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel more limited. I definitely feel more conscious about people around me in the UK. Sort of, I have this sort of insecurity a little bit about, I don't think I would have done the social media stuff probably if I was in the UK because you can kind of be like, what are people going to think, what would people say, you kind of have a little bit of that because they're your peers you grew up around and all this sort of stuff, and you've got to sort of break out of that, and I feel like it's difficult to do that. But I think when you're in another country, you can just fuck it attitude, like a bit like, what, let's just try it and see if it works, and who cares what anyone thinks, and sort of reinvent yourself and things like that. Like for instance, I put a video. I accidentally linked my Facebook to my Instagram story,
okay.
and I didn't realize that the stuff I was putting on Instagram was also going on my Facebook. And I haven't posted on Facebook for maybe 8 years. And all of a sudden, I was putting stuff on my story, and then I looked at my Facebook, and I was like, my videos have been going on my story. And you're looking at who's looked at them, and it's like people you've gone to school with, and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, wow, they must be like, what the hell's this guy doing? I ain't seen him for ages. And I remember this one guy who was like, he just commented, he just messaged me, and he just put, "You gay now, bro?" And I was like, uh, no, why? And he was like, "Oh, your nails polish, well, your nail polish." And I was just like. I don't, why do I even reply to that? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I don't
I
know
was just,
anything worth saying. Yeah, I
I
don't
was just like, you want to say something to like belittle them and like, be mean maybe back or do something like that. But then you just sort of feel sorry for them and think, oh, you such sad man. Like you just really don't know. So I just stopped the sharing of the stuff from to my Facebook and stuff like that because I think it's just better to keep that separate now.
I mean, that guy's living a very sad life where he doesn't get to paint his nails pretty, so, I mean,
Exactly. I mean, he can do if he wants, but he might think people might around him might think he's gay. But what's wrong with that?
yeah, yeah.
It's just narrow-minded points of view.
Yeah, yeah, especially with little things like that too, where you're like, "Nothing matters, it doesn't matter."
Yeah, it doesn't matter, it doesn't, I had a full blown argument on, I know this one guy and he just constantly puts homophobic and transphobic stuff online and he just magnifies it like it's a problem. And I just had to say something one time, and then we had this back and forward and it's just like, then you're like, oh, this was an actual pointless conversation, this was
Yeah.
it's unnecessary to go back and forward with this because you've just got your own opinion and I've got mine and nothing's going to change. So, but I do feel like hopefully he may be less likely to post something transphobic now if he thinks some random guy from Berlin that he used to know is just going to start going, hey, hold on a minute.
Don't do that.
The ironic thing about the whole thing was he put a picture on of a hair salon with a trans flag in the window, and then he put, "Why are they always trying to ram it down our throats?" And I commented and said, "Well, if you think about it, you've took a picture of it and put it on social media for thousands of people to see. So ironically, you're the one ramming it down our throats."
That's the trouble with social media though, is like, and I mean, that's the whole point of it, is like, it's supposed to like upset your nervous system and like get you
Yeah.
so that you will respond to something. And in reality, it's like, okay, none of this matters. And like, if, if that guy didn't have a social media platform, you never would have heard his rant. And it's one of those things I just, yeah, I'm like, I don't want to get wrapped up in the comments, but has it ever happened to you where someone will comment something on something that you posted and you're like, that's not what I said at all, or like, that's not what I meant, or like, that's not me. What are you talking about? And then,
Yeah, honestly, yeah. So basically, I said that then because that was a situation that annoyed me, but like I think it just annoyed me because I'd just been seeing it build up for ages. But like stuff I see on social media and comments, and they don't actually annoy me. Like they it's fine. I know what it is. I can think about it. But sometimes when someone does say something like kind of a bit mean for no reason, you can all of a sudden have this like, oh, I am still human and someone did say something not nice. But then you think to yourself, I just go, it's probably just a Russian bot, just trying to like it's probably not even a real person, or whatever, especially if it's on TikTok or something like that. But no, I mean, honestly, when a video goes viral, it means the comments go to shit. That's how you know a video's done well, is the comments go to shit. You've gone from the people who follow you to saying things that they liked, then to the people who don't follow you, but the content related to them. So they say something that they probably like. And then it goes to just random people who are like, don't understand the context and whatever. And then that's when the comments go bad. So it's like when the comments go bad, it means you've done a good post.
yeah, I think, yeah, I had one video, it got like 900,000 views or something, but like, to be fair, I was wrong. And then I did like pin it and I was like, all right, then, I've corrected myself. I've learned what a joy. And most people were like, oh, what a vibe. Like, she said she was wrong and it's done. And then like some people
Yeah.
like stitching this thing and then that's going viral again. So like something that I posted like in August is like now like the second iteration of it is going viral again. So then I'm getting backlash again. And I'm like, this isn't even my video.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean, on TikTok, I try and sometimes I'll say things that are slightly going to get an a bit under people's skin, just to sort of out of an entertainment sort of funny factor, a little bit, because it's sort of like a little tongue in cheek thing and kind of makes me laugh a little bit. For instance, like everybody's been laying into lap coffee in Berlin at the moment because of their VC funded and popping up everywhere. And, I made one about lap coffee and it went, he's doing okay and stuff like that. And people agree with me, people don't agree with me. It's sort of like just a bit of controversy, a bit of something like this. And I think it's kind of quite good on TikTok to do little videos like that, just to sort of, just, for my own amusement.
Yeah. I don't know. I think lap coffee is like a particularly interesting thing because I have friends who are they're tech people. And so they're very like, this is great. Like they're like staunchly supporters of lap coffee. And then I have friends who are like, anarcho-syndicalist and like they're, very much not into corporate buyouts of like local areas. And so I see both sides. I definitely, personally lean a little bit left towards the left, but, I don't know. Yeah, I see both sides.
I just look at it for what it is, and it's like it's an okay coffee about that sort of fits in the middle range. You know, it's like if I want to stand on a tram and drink a coffee, then it would be nice if it was like semi okay. I don't want to spend €5 on a coffee that I'm going to probably not really realize I'm drinking.
Yeah.
And they're conveniently everywhere that I walk past as well. So I walk past three nearly on the way to work. And yeah, but to be honest, I don't get one all the time. I usually go to my own local coffee shop, or something like that. It's just occasionally I'll have one if I just want something cheap and I want to collect the tokens. But I don't think too deeply into it about it. Like, VC guys, it's a bit like
But I think we have to think
you ain't you we ain't gonna end capitalism in our lifetime. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. You can be annoyed about it or not. It's not going anywhere. So chill out.
it's true, it's true, it's not going anywhere, but at the same time, I look at cities like New York or London, and, like, the first time that I went to either of those cities, they had a lot more character, and now it's just, like, chain stores and chain restaurants, and I think something that's so special about Berlin is that there are, like, these just, like, little mom and pop stores
Yeah,
and restaurants, and so I am kind of
true.
glad to see the community, like, digging their heels
True,
in
and
on that.
true, and I do think it is under threat at the moment because with rising rent prices and stuff like that, it is making way for only like these big companies that can, a Pret that can open up a store there compared to others because the rent's so high. And it's like I know these guys who had um and I was at a burger restaurant that was busy, but he's had to close because his contract runs out at the end of this year of an 8-year contract. And he's like, it's too expensive to renew. So what's it going to be then? There was a CrossFit gym that my friend used to go to that had to close because at the end of the contract, the rent was going up. So he couldn't afford. And we have rent caps on apartments, but we don't have rent caps on businesses. So they can do whatever they want. They can charge whatever they want. And it's like, what is going to be, would landlords rather have an empty shop than something that people are using? And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And it also pisses me off a little bit as well. Is like, these are old buildings that are probably owned by a guy that bought a block of flats in the 90s for 10 grand and he owns like 20 apartments or something crazy. So what is he actually? It's just pure greed that because it's like surely the rent and the upkeep of the apartments. Well, he's not paying rent. He's paid it off probably, unless they've sold it on to some big company or whatever. But yeah, we definitely don't want to go too far down that capitalism road, because I went to Bristol recently. Bristol has a street on it. It's the most independently owned street in the whole of the UK. It's about 2 miles long, and it is nice to see every single different type of shop. A local butchers, hairdressers, cafes, and the food is all amazing and all this sort of stuff. Apparently during COVID, they tried to open up a Tesco's there, and the locals burnt it down. Yeah, yeah. So like like I do like this side of Berlin, definitely. I say that in one sentence and then I said it before about Lap and I don't mind it and stuff. So, yeah, like we said, the podcast is about balance. And I think it's also finding that balance with capitalism in the city, but also being a very liberal, left leaning city as well. But I think that has to boil down to the individuals of like landlords to be like, you know, you probably grew up in a squat and you're a very liberal person. Try not let greed spoil that for you and the rest of us living here.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I like about Berlin is that it is so left-leaning, but yeah, I don't know. That's my 2 lives. They're like the tech world and then also this like kind of lefty world. And so they're always at odds, but I think like you said, Lap has a place in the middle for a piece like, it's a cup of coffee that isn't as bad as the Nescafe, but is yeah, it's not somewhere that you go to like hang out. It's just somewhere in the middle.
Yes, yeah. I think it's fine.
But I think that is something, and you mentioned this at the beginning when we started talking that, yeah, like in Berlin, there's not really a motivation because if you get like a 3K pay raise, that equates to like, it'll be like €50 a month or something on like that you actually see.
Yeah.
It's like, unless you're, like, getting a giant pay raise, there's not, like, an incentive to, like, pursue money.
Yeah, I cut down one of my days at work, because I needed to concentrate on, like, my fitness stuff and social media content, and I was like, "Okay, this is my first month without working and pay," and I was like, "Oh, it's not that much less I'm getting." I got paid, and I was like, "Oh, I've actually just freed up a whole day
Yeah.
and I'm not even earning that much less. And slowly now I've started to make a little bit of money from social media.
Wow.
So it's not a direct result of my own social media. I'm making content for Zalando. So like they pay me a little bit for videos that they put on their website, which is like it's nice because it makes me do a creative outlet in a different way, like talking about clothes and stuff like that. And it's separate to my own social media. It gives me practice with talking on camera still, but it's also like give me a little bit of cash to be able to free up my time, you know? So it's quite
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I like that mindset in Berlin. It's like people are just kind of looking for, like, "Okay, what's the balance of cash that I can get to, like, support the lifestyle that I enjoy?"
Yeah.
I don't This feels like a place where you can actually enjoy yourself, like, if people work so that they can have a nice life.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now we're kind of at the end of the time that we had planned out. I just want to check in, like, is there any other project or just like thing that you're excited about or you want to talk about that we didn't touch on or
Well, obviously, I'm going to start doing the interviews for Flash Quad. It's a great app. I think that everyone, it's in a few cities in Germany, but it's going to be spread out across Europe eventually. Obviously, they're very at the early stages of investing, so definitely would suggest you check out the app. I'm going to obviously be working on my other things I'm working on. I want to get my personal training license. I want to start helping coach people in a different way. And, you know, I cut hair for a living. That's my bread and butter. And I love doing that. But I also love talking to people while I cut their hair. I love giving them some learning things from people. I love giving advice about someone who wants to get into fitness and things like this. So this is why I think slowly I'm moving towards the direction of like helping people in a different way rather than just giving them a nice haircut. So these are the projects I'm sort of working, just constantly trying to do more content, refine it. I am working on I have a moving to Berlin guide, which I give away for free, which I get subscribers for now. And I do a monthly newsletter, and the newsletter is like stuff that I'm interested in. It's personal. It's like these are the club nights I would go to. These are the vintage shops I would go to. These are the cafes I like, and this is some of the exhibitions that I might check out. I don't want it to be like some sort of like generic thing. I'm like, if I like it and you might like it, that's fair enough. I don't want it to be too much like that. So the newsletter's going quite well. You know, I've got 1,500 subscribers now, which is really, really nice. But I am working on a paid guide at the moment, which I want to try and get out within the next month or so. Not expensive, but just want to try and make it like a little bit more smoother, the transition to moving to Berlin, because, you know, I see from my subscribers, 80% of them are American. So I'm like, a lot of Americans are maybe wanting to maybe get out of America. And I think to myself, like running this email subscription thing, putting the effort into creating the guide, doing the videos, helping on Berlin, it's time consuming. And I want to help people, but I have to try and make a bit of money from it, you know, for doing it. So that's why I'm trying to like work on a more detailed guide, which is going to be more sort of like these are in this, if you're staying in this area, this is what I recommend in this area. Here is a checklist for like moving to Berlin. And I sent out surveys to everyone who subscribes to questions that they might have. And I've gone into real detail about helping people out. So I'm just working on that in my spare time. So yeah, many projects happening.
I love that though. Like, yeah. I mean, why not? Have a bunch of different things that interest and excite you.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for someone who's like in their 30s and they're like, I don't like what I'm doing. I want to try something else, but it's too late.
Change your environment. change your environment and it will change your life. And maybe not at the beginning, maybe not at the, maybe take some time. But we're influenced so much by our surroundings. And if you move to a new city, or it doesn't even have to be a new country or something like that, that's going to force you to do it a sort of fuck up your life sort of thing, just like sort of blow it up, just move to a new place and try it. And at the end of the day, in 100 years, we're not going to be here and no one will remember us. Nobody gives a shit about us. So we're just got to experience, we're just consciousness experiencing itself for a short period of time. So what have you got to lose, especially in your 30s? Because your 30s is young, you can still do it in your 40s and 50s, I think, but your 30s, I'm 39 now and I'm like, God, I was so immature at 32. At 33, like, I'm like, I probably still am immature now, but I definitely feel more grown up.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I think change your environment and you'll change your life.
I love it. That's perfect. Well, Tom, it has been an absolute pleasure, and, it's fun to see kind of, yeah, because I've
Yeah.
followed you for a long time, and, yeah, just seeing how the content's changed and the audience has grown, and so, yeah, I feel like right now you're kinda at this inflection point, and it's just gonna skyrocket, so, I
Yeah,
wish
let's hope so. I'm going to try and be consistent and, and like do all the things and document what I'm doing and talk about what I'm doing. And hopefully it inspires others to do something else or try, just concentrate on other things and stuff like that. Be creative all the time, every day.
a little bit more creativity in all of our lives.
Exactly. Exactly.
Alright.
Well, thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you for coming.